Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's all right. Checking out to make sure that everything's okay. Everything looks good. Okay. Happy Easter to everybody. Well, it's tomorrow, but still. No, don't eat too much chocolate. Here I'm having a couple of friends over. We're going to have some fondue with chicken and beef, chicken, pork, and shrimps. So this is okay here. Everything looks good there. I think we're good to go. Ooh, yeah, buddy boy. 1, 2. Yep, audio's okay. So this is a different setup. I got some, you might notice the lighting is kind of more uniform. I got these two big projectors that I received this week. As in my continuous search for making things better here, I'm in the middle of another kind of reorganization of this place. Want it to be as interesting as possible to tell you guys. I have the 32-inch Sony there that I think I'm gonna put here in the back with the waterfall for the SDR player or something. I think we're gonna do something like that. I've got a mini PC that needs love. That would be great to do that. So, anyways, things are changing. That thing here with the water, with the firewall and all of that is going to be removed, and so things are shifting around, and I think it's going to be. I'm trying to make it as visually appealing as possible for you guys. So hope everybody's all right. So here we go. Hey everyone, welcome aboard. This is the Shortwave Live Show. We are here twice a week on Saturday at 20 hours Universal Time, and also on Wednesday for North America, but it's Thursday UTC, 0 UTC for the rest of the world. And we are here to entertain and have fun, and hope that you will have fun with us and that it's going to be great. We're, of course, here to talk about radio, shortwave radio of any kind. We're here to really just have fun and tune around the bands. Right now, I've got my Kenwood 5000 and my ICOM ICR 8500 as the two radios that are plugged in. Still going to make a few videos comparing them to radios like the Texan PL330 and so on. Before I will probably put them here on the table in the back that I will be removing everything off of it and putting it all clean with a few radios. I'm also going to move the PCs here closer so I can actually move the camera a lot more freely and actually even go up to the table there when there's other radios to tune around. We'll have some kind of a place where there's going to be a lot of stuff that I can actually change and go to as we need. So I think it's going to be cool. Okay. So my name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of North America. And well, there's a fantastic chat room that you can join and have fun. This is the place where, everybody is welcome. Whether you're new to the hobby or not, everybody is the same here. You might be an expert, want to help out. You might be new and you need to, just learn more and learn about all sorts of things. So, it's a great place for, I think, everybody. And we talk about radio in general, focusing on shortwave a lot, but, different things. Medium wave, long wave, shortwave, and sometimes VHF, UHF. I mean, if it's radio, it has its place here. And when the party's over here, Well, we've got a place where it's the Facebook group, official SWL channel on Facebook also. This is where we also have a lot of fun and basically share what we're listening to and all sorts of things. People are having a lot of fun there, talking about experimenting with antennas, radios, giving results of what they find, and it's a lot of fun. And it's cool to read everybody, see the pictures, the videos. Really a nice place, and basically the it's the the place to be after the show. It's the after hour, the after party place. So welcome aboard, everyone. Of course, we will be talking about radio and tuning the bands and Easter weekend. Pirates. There's going to be probably a lot of pirates today and tomorrow. So I think it's the time to check that out. Pirate stations are usually more popular, or actually more plenty on holiday weekends. And so this is a big holiday for Easter here. And hope that propagation is good enough that we can actually enjoy better radio than many of the days we had this week, where things are kind of complicated. We had a lot of geomagnetic storming going on and unsettled conditions. Things have quieted down now a little, but there's a huge group of sunspots that is kind of arriving, and so it's going to be interesting to see. It seems that they've created some X flares in when it was on the other side of the sun. So I think this is going to be something to look at for the next few days. But in between, when things quiet down, with the solar flux above 100, lots of stuff happening. Don't forget Monday, special day. Monday is World Amateur Radio Day. Yep, World Amateur Radio Day coming up on this Monday, April 18th. A few things that I want to promote here as we are starting. First of all, there's the International Radio Report, a show about radio, 30 minutes every Sunday morning on CKUT 90.3 FM in Montreal and ckut.ca, where you can listen live to the stream. And that's at 1430 UTC, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, from a station here in Montreal, CKUT. Of course, co-hosted and produced and edited and all of it from A to Z, done by Sheldon Harvey and me. And of course, we record the show on Friday afternoon. I actually edited the show this morning and posted the show on a CKUT page computer for queued for tomorrow morning to play. And of course, it's a show where we talk about everything from local to international news. If you guys want to check it out, we also have a Facebook group, which is facebook.com/international radio report. And we have a YouTube channel where you can join in, and I'm going to share the YouTube channel here. You can check out the show. We post our show every week. And in between, sometimes there are special editions that pop up, so you can check it out. But the International Radio Report is here. Why not subscribe and listen to our weekly show about radio? There's also a fantastic club that has a monthly bulletin called The Messenger. Is the International DX Club, Canadian International DX Club. Let me just take my tablet here that I left on the table. The Canadian International DX Club is, of course, the place to be to also, enjoy a fantastic little bulletin called the Messenger. Let me just bring up here the messenger for this month. If I can find there we go, April 2022. So this is, of course, a fantastic little magazine that you have every month. And the Canadian, it's not just you're getting a bulletin; you're part of a club. And here's the cover of the April edition of the Canadian International DX Club. And of course, you've got all sorts of things in there, including, of course, headquarters report, board of directors report, broadcast ban, uh, DXing, very interesting QSL column. I have the world of utilities column. There's a shortwave logbook. There's a free radio scene for pirates. Glenn Hauser shares is shows is a DX guide, DX program guide, and information here. Sheldon, of course, has the not just listening, everything that has to do with radio, but it's not radio. It's movies, it's books, it's TV shows, anything. Skip into EI has the Uncle Skip's bookshelf. John Figliozzi has the Potting Along. And of course, there's technical topics. Harry Cottrell has the Ham Radio News and News, CIDX News and Notes, and What's News and Propagation Reports. It is a great little publication and lots of fun to have. This month is what, 85 pages or something. It's pretty big. So yeah, 86 pages in total. So pretty cool. And the CIDX Club is 60 years this 2022. And of course, we're talking about that, and we're going to arrange something. I was talking about doing a little maybe special event amateur station with the call sign of the club. So check it out. Ask for a sample copy. Sheldon has posted the link, the email to ask for a sample if you never did before. If you're interested, why not subscribe? $10 for a year, $25 for 3 years. That's really inexpensive. You're part of a club at the same time. We have a monthly Zoom meeting where you'll meet other guys and of the club and have a lot of fun. So, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Just check it out. So that was the promotion time for our different things that we do. I hope that you enjoy all of it. Sheldon, me, and many people, many others should actually take a lot of time to bring you content, bring you all sorts of things, bring you live shows like this. We work hard for all of it, and we just hope that it's appreciated and that people really, really enjoy what we do. Because it's fun. It's easy to complain about stuff, but it's fun when somebody says, "You know what? Thanks for what you do because it's really cool." Also feels great. So I'll take my first sip of my little vodka drink here. So cheers, everybody. And in our chat room, we have Laura Robertson from Italy, I3/KO4DFJ. We have Matt, MDK2. Nice to have you on board. Man, that tastes bad. I just brushed my teeth. It doesn't taste good after brushing your teeth. Bobby Burgess, nice to have you here from Morgan City, Louisiana, WA5107 SWL. I'm going to come to your question about SDRs and the status of SDRs today. We have VA3JPX. James, nice to have you on board from Ottawa. F1 Sushi, nice to have you here from Ottawa. Charlie McKee, VE2XCC, just west of Quebec, waiting for the last snow to drift away. Here, Montreal is now pretty much snow-free. So we're lucky for that. We get an early start compared to a lot of parts of the province and of Canada. Larry Gilmore, nice to have you on board, and happy Easter or Passover. Yes, absolutely. There's that also, depending on who you are. Nick Sharp, nice to have you on board from miles south in England. And ideal weather for the PL330, Texan PL330 outside. Lots of fun for that. Mad Max, nice to have you here. We have Pete N1VAK nice to have you on board from Greenville, North Carolina. Andrew Simpson from England. Rich McVicker, nice to have you on board from a muddy Navarino, New York. Rainy, snowy, and muddy. So all of that mixed in. It's that typical time of the year for all that mix. RJD Dakota, nice to have you on board from Winsville, Missouri. Nice to have you here. Chuck, nice to have you on board in 5KVO from sunny South Texas. Patrick, nice to have you on board from Washington. Snowing today. Chuck, nice to have you here from Pennsylvania. Mark, nice to have you here from Southeast Wisconsin. KD9USO. W89278SWL. DJW883, nice to have you on board from Southeast Pennsylvania. Skipwave DX, nice to have you on board from the Catskills Mountains of New York. Raining again. Here it's was kind of sunny. It's kind of clouding over a little bit, but it was sunny. But we had our share of rain and really high winds last night. More than 100,000 people had no power last night at some point. Winds were crazy. Greg from Columbus, Ohio. Nice to have you here. Luigi, nice to have you on board. Happy Easter. And says, great sunny day today in the countryside, listening to Shortwaves. Cool. John Beckham, nice to have you here from Northeast Florida. Another Greg, happy Easter. Nice to have you here. UK Sniper 1, nice to have you here from Scotland. Tubero Tim, you didn't do it? Nice to have you here. Kevin, nice to have you on board. WS2H from the Jersey Shore. Propagation rough in the past couple of days. Yeah, with all the solar storms and all the things that happened, it was pretty crazy. WF7I Ombro, nice to have you here from Virginia. Says, looks like the firewall is down. Sheldon Harvey, nice to have you here from Greenfield Park, Quebec. WF7I Ombro. Do you think the expedition is coming up soon for you up there? And is the weather warm enough? Usually not before May, but with the warmer weather, there probably will be. I was looking next week. We have a few days where it's going to be, 14, 15 Celsius, which is getting there up there in the 60s. Maybe some walk in the park videos, doing a little bit of ETM scans and tuning around, where the noise is actually much lower than over here, because here it's crazy the noise that we have, and so I think that'll be nice to have a few walk in the park videos with some radios, different radios every day, every time I go. Zen Pharaohs, nice to have you on board with antenna collection and HF Plus Discovery PL330 and R8. That's a nice mix of radios. John Beckham, nice to have you on board. Bobby Burgess. So like I was saying, some SDR makers are still having some problems with supply of chips and parts, but overall, it seems to be kind of resorbing itself a little bit. I know that SDR Play has kind of stocked up again in most of the places. I know that HRO, Ham Radio Outlet, seems to have some SDR Play devices now back in stock. In the case of SDR Play, I believe that what happened is they were hit by COVID and had to shut down for a little while because of that. Now back on track. So hopefully we'll have our RSP-DXs and our RSP-180 SDRs. And of course, I was looking at like AirSpy HF Plus seems to be in stock. The RTL SDR V3 seems to be in stock also. So things are looking good for now. So hopefully because I know the chip shortage is still hitting hard on a lot of technologies, and I was looking here. It's crazy, but if you're a little picky and you want to have a specific washer and dryer, for example, for your home, it could take 6 months before you get the one you want. So it's like you better not be picky and just get the one they have. VE2FGJ, nice to have you on board. Salut. Toast and Loaf, nice to have you here. So yeah, with Easter Sunday, pirates are going to be aplenty, I'm pretty sure, in the bands, and we're going to check that as we go through the show today. Neil Rigby, nice to have you here from the UK. Andy New, nice to have you on board from Bristol, UK. M7CUN. What else do we have? Greg's going to his cousin's house for Easter today at 4 p.m. So cool. Have fun. And nice. Two Broke Tim's a truck driver. He's got to work. Yep, you're one of the guys that you got to bring us our packages. Francis Moore, nice to have you here from the UK. Mickey Delmage, Michel Delmage. Nice to have you here, Mickey Delmage from Sherwood Park, Alberta, Canada. Shannon Harvey shared the sample at cidxclub.ca email for a free sample bulletin of the messenger. Planted Aquariums. Nice to have you here from Romania. And thanks for your videos. I learned a lot. Purchased a Texan PL330 and a long wire antenna for it. So that is cool. That is cool. Hope you're having fun. Hector Vasquez, nice to have you here from Los Angeles, California. TV Ostrowski, nice to have you here from Dunmore, Alberta. Thinking of getting an MLA30 loop antenna, but there seem to be so many to choose from. How do they differ? Because the prices can vary quite a bit. They're all the same. Just simplify it. They're all the same. Wherever you buy it, you're going to get a plus. You're going to get an MLA30 plus. So just get the one that is at the cheapest price, because the ones that are more expensive are exactly the same thing. It's not worth paying $20, $30, $40 more. It's the same thing. And from what I've seen, from what everybody is having, and from my own experience, even if they don't say it's the plus, you're getting the plus. It's the only one that's available now. So just get it wherever the price is okay with you. I usually will tell everybody, if you get it at around $40, you're okay. It's a decent price. Some have had it for cheaper, but for me, $40 is kind of the okay price technically. Kevin Murray, nice to have you here from windy Wyoming. We have Doug Smith from Virginia Beach. Have you noticed the ever worsening signal problems on 6000 radio van this week and mysterious absence of the Cuban weather guy most nights? I haven't actually this week. We were talking on Wednesday of taking breaks from radio. That's kind of healthy to do so. I can sincerely say that this week I did almost no radio. It was one of those weeks where, and when I wanted to do some radio, what happened is maybe one or two times do a little bit of radio, but it was always in the middle of one of those solar flares or geomagnetic storms. So the bands were kind of quiet, not much happening. So I ended up not really listening much this week, but tonight, Saturday night, is my usual night of radio. So tonight I'm going to be listening to that. I'm going to check out Radio Vena Cuba, what's happening. But they're having tons of transmitter problems. What I find funny about Cuba with the weather guy is the fact that I hear the weather of Montreal over Radio Vena Cuba, which is always kind of weird. VT Radio, nice to have you here, Paul, AA1SU, and playing on 10 meters, FT8. JJH, nice to have you on board from Western Lake, Michigan. Wine and cheese time, perfect. Submarine Radio Man, WA3MCK, nice to have you on board. Thank you for the nice comments. Says, loves the show. Dream Shadow 76, Radio Nerd here, love your channel, and he's from Iowa. Tom DXer, WPE2QED from Hudson Valley, New York. Greg, I watched my first episode of International Radio Report last Sunday and really enjoyed it, Joe. Very interesting. I subscribe and will continue to watch. Cool. Thanks for that, and thanks for the good words. Me and Sheldon take time to do this every week, and we hope people are really having fun listening and or going on their YouTube channel. We know a lot of people are listening live, even people listening on the FM radio here in Montreal. Some are streaming it directly at 1430 UTC from the CKUT website. You can also use your whatever aggregator you have to like tune in and just search for CKUT 90.3. It's going to pop up and you can stream from there also. We are live from 14:30 to 15 hours Universal Time on Sunday. Toast and Loaf, hi from Alabama. Gabrielle, nice to have you on board from Ismu Expedition. I like that, and been enjoying your little videos and pictures there. It was a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to see that. From Uruguay, Jeffrey Chan from Hong Kong. Nice to have you here. David DXer, bonjour, ça va bien. J'espère que tu vas bien, toi aussi. Gary Pence, nice to have you here. KM5X in Dallas, Texas. James Mooter, WA1125SWL. We all love you and what you're doing. And he's in Prospect, Connecticut. Happy Easter. To you, Brooke Tim. Okay. Jim's Radio Check. Nice to have you on board. Kevin Murray, nice to have you here. KJ Walden, nice to have you on board from the Netherlands. Klaus, nice to have you here. Alasdair, nice to have you on board from the Pacific Northwest. Cooking Denver steaks. Huh, okay. Sounds good. John Beckham, are you familiar with the pink moon that is supposed to show itself over the weekend? Not really, but the moon has different names depending on its the month of the year that we have. So sometimes you have to be careful with the naming also of the different full moons, for example, because of sometimes it has to do with a specific event that happened at one point, or but it kind of rings a bell, but yeah, probably has to do with something that happened in April or something. Dream Shadow, plan to get a nice Dixon portable, Miss Shortwave. Toolman22364, nice to have you on board. Please let us know where you're located. Robert Osborne, nice to have you on board. Not just supply chain problems with active components, but also shortages of passives. Yep. And as there, my next system is probably to be more feature-rich Texan portable options, enjoying the Ethon Elite Executive and Companion Mini. Cool. Spatrick 1964. Why haven't these touchscreen SDR shortwave hybrids taken off in 2022? You figure one radio manufacturer would have come out with them. That's a mix of a lot of things. First of all, most of them that have come out, and when we talk about portables, have come out with more of an experimental phase. So the Russian Malachite and the Chinese clones of them, and the Chinese versions of their own touchscreen stuff, and they're kind of cute and everything, but it's really experimentation stuff when you look at that. For a manufacturer, say Texan, for Texan to do this, they would have to go to the drawing board and design one to sell, and that costs money. And you have to look afterwards to how much it's going to sell and how many radios are we selling, and is there a market for it. And it's kind of it's a tricky market right now for shortwave, because yes, they're selling shortwave radios, but I think there's kind of a limit of price where people are not kind of going more in that. I think there's the money that has to be put in for all of that to happen. I think manufacturers might be a little off and saying, well, I'm not sure that I want to invest in that. Are we really going to sell enough? And who's going to buy them? Not everybody likes SDR stuff. A lot of people still like their good old analogs and their good old portables the way they are. So it's a mix of that. It's a mix of, we're in a moment of shortages of parts of all sorts. So, even if you would like to do one, if you're thinking of, oh yeah, I'm gonna have some form of radio, of SDR radio, portable radio. You need the parts, you need to build them, which is kind of a problem right now. So there's a lot of uncertainty in there. Just want to check something here. I believe we have. Want to see if it's there. Yeah. Radio Romania 13650 and 9740, but it's very noisy here today. So 9740 and 13650 for Radio Romania in English right now. So interesting to if you want to tune Radio Romania English. So what else do we have? Then Pharaohs during the show, filing my taxes, making stew, squeezing in some listening, coloring, Easter eggs, and as my cat reminds me now, feeding the cat. That's a lot of stuff to do. Tim Broke Tim, yep, buying computers or specific computers is kind of tough. Also, there's a lot of back order right now. So I'm glad I purchased my my gaming laptop just before all the craze happened. And the prices are up there also. I mean, because of that, a lot of the stuff that we purchase is the prices are through the roof. I every time I go to the groceries, I just can't believe the price of the groceries right now. Chris Bell, nice to have you here from Minneapolis, AE0IY. Sir Maximus Ardward, nice to have you on board. Do you need an adapter to use the MLA30 on a Texan PL330? Yes, you do. You need to have an adapter that will actually be a SMA female to a 3.5 millimeter plug. You can check on eBay. There's a lot of them that are available. I've seen some on Amazon also, but you'll have different cables for sure. What else do we have? Let's go down. Alejandro, nice to have you here from Manchester, UK. Stephen Wood, nice to have you on board. Yeah, I got that email for Sheldon. Sent me the email for the Quebec QSO party. Well, we'll see if I have time because tomorrow will be Easter Sunday. Kind of a little complex day with a couple of friends coming over. So I don't know if I'll have a lot of time, but I'm gonna check it out. I'll try to participate a little bit. But I might actually, where I might participate more, will be on Monday, for the World Amateur Radio Day. I'll probably be on the air and try to participate a little bit in that. There are some special event stations also coming up. Francis Moore bought a Ripcord 6-volt USB adapter lid for my Sony ICF 7600 JR, hoping by connecting via USB it would cut out the interference when I get from DC adapter. Still getting interference. Actually, yeah. Actually, you're probably even getting more. The best thing that you could do is put, some thorids or ferrites on the power cable. But it's very difficult to. Does the Sony ICF 7600 come with a power supply? Just out of curiosity, because I know Saint-Gian, some of the higher end Saint-Gians like the Saint-Gian ATS 909X2 come with a power supply. I'm quite amazed at the fact that they are switching power supplies and they're so quiet. They're definitely designed to, have as little noise as possible in the radio. Another one also that I'm surprised is the Ethon Field BT radio that comes also with a power supply. And that one too is pretty quiet. It's surprising. Andy New needs an FTDX 10. J Projects, nice to have you here from San Diego, California. John Beckham, Daisy the cat has jumped into the lap to watch some of the live shortwave radio show. Paul is sleeping in the bedroom. The girlfriend came over today for an hour or two, and now she's outside. Nice to have you here. Glenn in Milwaukee. KB9IN, happy Easter. Nice to have you here. Jeff King from Jacksonville, Florida. Nice to have you on board. Yeah, it also has to do with the different. Some of the names for the full moons are dependent on an event that happens. It's like one of them. I don't remember which one it is in the year, but there's one that called it blue moon. Kind of a bluish, and it has to do with atmospheric conditions that were right. Sometimes some of the full moons are also called a name that has to do with the time of year, depending where we are. For example, the harvest moon, which is in the fall because of the harvests, and the stories behind are also kind of cool. For those that don't follow that, look at the stories behind each of the full moon names. The harvest moon is called that because in the shorter days of fall, of course, the full moon was helping in actually giving light for harvesting later at night. So all sorts of things like that. It's cool to see the stories behind all of the different. One is the wolf moon. I remember all the names, but every month, because I'm subscribed to Sky and Telescope, so I like to see all of that every time. Always a lot of fun to check out. Some have to do with an event, so they called it a specific name like the pink moon because maybe something happened at one point, and when they gave the name, the moon was like kind of pinkish when it was rising, or things like that. So moon vision, nice to have you on board. Anyone agree that the 80s Midland Precision Series CB radios are the coolest looking CBs? A lot of CBs are cool looking, especially in the 70s and 80s. There's a lot of them that like you look at them and you're like, wow, this is kind of cool. No problems, Patrick, 1964. Kevin, 11810 BBC Noisy. Yeah, try 11680 out of curiosity. Barry, nice to have you here. Andy New spoke to Romania this afternoon. That's good. That's good. That's pretty cool. What else do we have? I haven't checked the email. I'm going to check the email again. Hector Vasquez, no reception, 13650 for Radio Romania. So, we got an email that just came in. Okay. We're going to check that out. There's a few questions in that email, so we're going to answer it in a few seconds. Okay. So yeah, I think 13650 right now is for the East Coast mostly, so that's not surprising you don't get a reception. Radio Romania is a tough one in the West Coast. I got a lot of people in the West Coast saying, "Hey, you hear your Romania like this," and I barely hear anything, and it's like, yeah, I know. No problem, Bobby Burgess. Happy to answer. As there, yep, GPUs, graphics cards, and processors are crazy high priced. Also, the problem there is not even supply. The problem there is all those trolls on eBay that buy the GPUs and then sell them at inflated prices, which should be personally that should be illegal. If I'd be Nvidia, I'd hit every eBayer that does that. But then again, makes Nvidia sell more. Tristan, nice to have you here from Newfoundland. Dream Shadow, you had warm to my heart. I feel normal being nerd here. Yes, and we are all normal in our geekness of radio. Okay, you have to buy a third party's power supply. Yeah. You got to find a good one then, because a lot of most power supplies will let the noise go through from the power, the power to the radio. So no one before me. Nice to have you on board from Cornwall, Ontario, Canada. Thank you very much. Dustin Love. Oh, the blue moon is the second full moon of the month. Yeah, I remember now. Yep. Man. Man, Max built a gaming PC right around when shipped back in February 2020. Trying to find parts that wasn't being scalped was a pity. Yep, absolutely. Eric Cottrell, nice to have you on board. And yes, the Quebec QSO party is tomorrow. Metalunar, maybe I'm crazy, but I was comparing ATS and ETM scans on shortwave. It did it 6, 7 times alternating, and the ETM always seemed to program 9 more stations than ATS scan did. Strange. Yeah, you got to be careful. One thing for sure is ETM is designed for a purpose of getting stations. ATS purpose is more of a design to program in memory channel stations, because a lot of people ask me the difference. They say, what's the difference? ATS, ETM, they seem to do the same thing. They don't exactly. ATS, which is the automatic tuning system, is there to help you fill out the memory channels of your radio automatically. So it scans but wants to store the memories. ETM stores them in temporary memory. It's not memories that are meant to stay there, where ATS is meant for the memories to actually, always be programmed and to keep programmed. It is possible that ATS and ETM scans, even though they do scan, might not exactly work the same way. It's not impossible. It's not impossible. But we got to be careful also, because one of the things that there are two things I'd be curious also is that does the ATS, I don't know if you've noticed, maybe look at the display when it scans. Does the ATS scan and the ETM scan exactly the same range? Meaning that, every broadcast band has a size. So, say the 19-meter band, maybe ETM does 15,000 to 15,900, but maybe ATS goes from 15,000 to 15,700. I haven't noticed that because I didn't think about that actually. Um, but it could be that, but it also, I mean, I use ETM on two radios that I know are, like the Texan PL368, the CountyCom GP7 SSB are the same radio. The only difference is the CountyCom version has a sturdier stainless steel antenna, but the electronics, the insides, same thing. So when you actually have both side by side and you start an ETM scan, you would expect to have the same results. And it's never exactly the same results. There are often three different um, stations that one picked up, the other one didn't. And it alternates. You can't say one is better than the other, because in reality it alternates between one or sometimes the other, and so on. Um, and like I said, it's possible that the ETM and ATS scan don't exactly scan the same way. One might have a higher squelch threshold where it actually will pick up a station, and unless you're scanning at the exact same pace, or in my case with the two radios, it's the same scan speed. But unless you're scanning at the same pace, if there is a difference in what radio is at what frequency, remember propagation up and down of signals will play and will make a difference, because that 10, 15 seconds difference will make also a difference. And one station that one picked up might actually be in a fade down, the other one is not picking it up, and so on. But interesting. You know what? I never thought of trying an ATS and ATM scan. Now you're talking to PL310 ET. I suppose I could try that with a couple of radios. You're kind of intrigued by the results here. SV O'Rourke, nice to have you on board, my friend. Yes, Greg, I'll say hi to Paul and the Paul and his girlfriend, Mignon. Absolutely. Um, John Beckham, 11860, 13650, both rolling into Northeast Florida. Any moon is DX moon. SV O'Rourke still getting BBC on 12025 at 17, not listed on info website. BBC, is it on the IBI space? Out of curiosity here. 12025. It is listed here from Singapore on EIBI space. They are from 15 to 19 hours universal time from Singapore to the Middle East in English. So 15 to 19 UTC is the broadcast time. So EIBI space. That's why I always go to that list, even though it's more difficult to understand for a lot of people. That list is usually more accurate than most of the other lists that I go, or the websites that use lists. But you see, EIBI space has it here as Singapore. So that's good. Glenn, Radio Romania coming in with a fair signal. A little bummed out. We lost our old cat a week ago, almost 14 years. Rest in peace, Allie. Still have a young cat and a black lab. Uh, that's the tough thing for sure. So hang in there. It's always sad to lose our beloved animals. They are when somebody tells me it's like, well, it's just a cat. No, not just a cat. It's a member of the family. I'm sorry. Moon Vision, ever use DSD Plus with your SDR to decode stuff? I listen to secure teams on my local mall using it. I wanted to do it. I wanted to try it with the especially with my RTL is the RV3 and use all of that to try to play with it. But for some reason that kind of faded away. But now that you talk about it, I need to check it out more. Definitely. As we were caught All India Radio 9620 Sri Lanka Broadcasting 17 here on Oahu. Wow, pretty cool. That's good DXing there. I'm moving to Hawaii. Want to DX from there. Tosanov, there's some submarine traffic on VLF or ELF below 1 kilohertz. Yeah, below about 10 kilohertz. Lots of submarine communications because it's one of those. It's a frequency range that crosses easily into the depth of the oceans. Not a lot of frequencies are working well in underwater. Those are actually the frequencies, and there's quite a few naval stations, even here in North America. The U.S. Navy has quite a few ELF, VLF stations for communications with submarine. So, Pete, N1 VAK, is it possible to monitor any submarine signals? Just wondering if anyone has done any like this. First, you need a radio that goes down very, very low in frequency, so 10 kilohertz or below. That is the first problem. Not a lot of radios do. The second problem there is also the antennas that you'll need and the sensitivity of that radio. One of the biggest problems with radios is that their edges, they're often not as good in performance as they could be. So it can drop off real fast. I haven't had any, or I haven't seen anybody really talk about monitoring the submarine signals. I know that it's probably a lot of data streams, and I would guess maybe encrypted. So I don't know, but I haven't seen. That's an interesting question. Anybody out there monitoring submarine signals or things in very very low range of the frequencies? Keegan DXer, nice to have you here from Northwest Arkansas. Charlie McKee says, shall I posted on the official Shortwave channel Facebook group about my experience with the Ethon Field Elites power supply, the noisiest power supply in my home. So kind of interesting. Mine here is quiet, pretty quiet, surprising. There's one thing that I suspect also, and that's one of the things that I think is important to note. The noise in our home is created, a lot of it is created by our own devices. And when we plug something that's noisy into a outlet, the biggest problem is that that outlet and all the cabling in your home becomes antenna noise. It's all the cables, electric cables in the walls just become antennas. They broadcast that noise. And then you plug in a power supply of some sort or wall wart, and then what you get? Well, you've got the noise from your cabling going through the power supply and to the radio. So that's why here most of the time I never ever use the power supplies. I just put all the radios on rechargeable batteries. Much quieter. Um, what else do we have? Kevin Murray. Um, Hector Vasquez, WWV, coming in on 25 in the West Coast, about week. Let's check it out here. 25. Got nothing on 25. Very weak on 20. Weak on 15. Pretty much in existence on 10. Looking at propagation conditions, they don't seem to be as good as it could be. Moon Vision. I want to check that out. You sparked my kind of forgot. When you do a lot of stuff, you kind of forget about whatever at some point. And now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, you remember, I totally completely forgot to play with that. And time, of course, with all that I do, finding time to sit down, plug in all the stuff, and play around with all of it is also something that sometimes is a hard thing to come around. When you see that my shortwave YouTube channel is quieter on a week, think about the fact that I'm very busy that week, because when I have time, I jump on the radios and make videos. I need to do more. Keegan DXer, Ethan's power supplies are quiet. I find my laptop computer power supplies are noisy, at least on AM. That is something that's definitely a problem. Also, noise coming from computers is definitely a problem. My Asus gaming laptop isn't too bad, but it's not. It's noisier than my Toshibas that I had before. Definitely noisier. And sometimes I will actually run on batteries, the laptop on batteries for an hour or two if I want to load the noise sometimes. But still, it's acceptable. I will put it like that, because I had an Acer that a client gave me because she didn't want it anymore. Dang, that Acer was so noisy. It's like it was a noise hell. You'd plug the Acer and the and everything was washed out on shortwave. It's like, okay, I'm not using that again. By the way, I don't know what. Let me check it out here. I want to check it out. I forgot to check that out. There's um, the international. Okay, it was over. It only lasted 2 days. Oh, so sad. There was a 2-day event, April 11th to 13th, with the International Space Station sending slow scan TV. But it seems that it's 11 to 13, so it's gone now. Let's hope that we have some more of those. We're gonna have to get those more and more because we're starting to hear a lot about the decommissioning of the International Space Station in the next years, which means that at some point all of that amateur radio stuff from the International Space Station will end. So so JJH says NASA on the air April 23rd to 27th for amateur radio. So that's going to be interesting to check out for sure. WF79 Homebrew. Have not heard submarines, but the closest I've done to here is WWVB on 60 kilohertz. I have to use a up converter circuit to tune with one of my shortwave receivers so they won't tune down that low, as they won't tune down. Yeah. The lowest frequency I've heard something here is 100 kilohertz when there was the LORAN system. You could hear all the digital pulses of the LORAN system. 100 kilohertz. That's the lowest I've heard ever a signal. Below that, I've never heard WWVB on 60 kilohertz. I think it's a mix of antenna and noise. That is my problem. Although I do have my weather station that is on the wall there that actually synchronizes the time. So that means the signal is getting here because it's able to synchronize. Not every day, but it synchronizes a few times a week. So I know that that clock is relatively accurate, but never, I think the big problem is maybe possibly the 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 antenna. Not really. I don't have really good antennas for 60 kilohertz. The MLE30 drops off pretty fast below. What I notice of the MLE30, and that's where other loops can probably be much better, is it drops off quite fast when you start going below 3 megahertz. You see that even though on medium wave it's not bad, it actually receives okay. You see that as you go down, it's less and less sensitive on the medium wave and then the long wave bands. So it probably need to have, and that's where I think a Wellbrook or a W6LVP loop that is rated to go down to the long wave might actually have an edge and be much better than MLA30. This is a possibility. I need to check the U loop. I have my U loop that I haven't plugged in a little while. Check out how it performs on the long wave, medium wave bands compared to the MLA30. John Beckham's getting CHU Canada on 14670 coming into Northeast Florida. Man, Max tried the power supply that came with my Ethon Elite Executive. Always just slap some double A's going to be getting rechargeables. So, Toastin Love, an ordinary audio amplifier connected to an antenna can receive the audio range RF signals 20 to 20,000 hertz. Toast and Love, lots of 60 or 50 cycle interference. No. Moon Vision, I have the Ethon Globemaster, cool radio, but yes, it melted the rubber skin sticky issue like they all do. That all the radios that have that rubber goo on it, oh man. I mean, it's beautiful when you get the radio brand new, but when it starts getting sticky, it's disgusting. What I do is I use rubbing alcohol. I have here 70% rubbing alcohol, and I just removed the goo with that. It works great. And it doesn't remove the letters off the radio because depending on what you use, sometimes I've seen one guy post a picture a couple of years back of his Grundig and no more lettering anywhere because I don't know what he used, but whatever he used not only removed the goo, it removed also the letters that were printed on the plastic. So, but with rubbing alcohol, 70%, I have been very successful in removing that disgusting goo off of these radios. Shelly, nice to have you here from South Central Pennsylvania. There's baked oatmeal in the oven for supper. So cool. Keegan, I tried a new Asus laptop computer yesterday. I found that the power supply was noisy while charging. Charging might be noisier if you're using it and charging because it actually pumps up the power supply's power. I got a gaming laptop. The power supply that I have with my Asus is 120 watts, which is more than a lot of the power supplies in general because when you're gaming, the GPU kicks in and it needs a lot of power to run. I noticed that if I start a game on my Asus laptop, the noise becomes crazy on the radios because the power supply works really, really hard and it starts creating a lot of noise. What's nice with the fact that you don't have, when in regular use, like now, I just have the chat room running and a couple of web pages. Um, what's happening is that you're getting, since it's not using a lot of power, it's rather quiet in general. It's really when in gaming, forget it. You're not going to do that. And same thing. If I would use it on battery and then I plug in to charge, well, charging uses a lot of power also because it's going to charge the battery. That also becomes very noisy. Uh, Chris Bell, WWV, strong in Minneapolis on 10 megahertz. Keegan DXer currently posting on my older HP laptop computer with Ethernet until I figure out how to convert to Wi-Fi, as the new Asus laptop does not have an Ethernet port. Mad Max, the only computer I have that's noisy is my HP Thin client. Its power button LED causes a bunch of interference. When it sleeps, it blinks and you can hear it blink. Oh, man. Okay. Man. So, King and the Extra CenturyLink Wi-Fi on the modem has been broken for a while. Simon Templar, nice to have you on board, my friend. Zenfaro, speaking of low stuff, the Navy transmitter on 24 kilohertz is not that hard to get with the ULU. For most of today, I had some sort of beacon on 505.150 kilohertz, but in the past hour, it has gone completely. Maybe a non-directional beacon. The highest I've had in non-directional beacon is 516, 514. The one in Petawawa, Ontario, something like 515, 516, or 514 kilohertz, or somewhere around there. I hear it quite regularly. Especially when I try to tune in the Navtex. Basically. Carl Icon, nice to have you here. And 24 kilohertz in Cutler, Maine. 24 kilohertz. I would have to fire up one of my SDRs for that, and they're not plugged in because they're plugged in. My antennas are plugged into the desktop radios right now. And the lowest is my Kenwood, and my Kenwood I think goes down to 30 kilohertz at the lowest. Bowman's, I used to use a DX394 to listen to VLF. There's a keypad combination you press to allow it to tune way below 150. Huh. Crazy. Dave Conte. Nice to have you here from the Bronx. When I was a kid, we had a Calico Atom computer when the Calico, yeah. When the thing was on, shortwave was completely unusable. Yeah, I remember when I had my I still have it, but today my cables are shielded, so I don't hear it. But back in the 80s, I would not have a coax go outside because I couldn't pass through anywhere. So the only way I could have an outdoor antenna was to pass through a thin cable, a standard, you know, tin cable with the long wire. So that meant that inside the home, if there was noise, of course, I would get that noise. And I remember that on some frequencies, sometimes I had to turn off my Commodore 128 to because it was creating noise on some of the shortwave spectrum frequencies. It depended where, not everywhere. There were bands where I could use a Commodore computer and still be okay, but there were bands where I needed to just shut it off. And it's interesting because now they're plugged in, the Amiga 500 and the Commodore, but now because I got shielded cables going to the antenna outdoors, they're not. I don't hear that noise anymore. Spain coming in on 17855. Let's check that out here. Let's go and check out 17855. It's interesting how signals up here in Montreal today are not that great. I saw that the K index was 3 earlier, so it's we're kind of in the probably closer to the auroral zones here that's really creating problems. Unid'd pirate on 6925 upper sideband. So if you guys want to try that, 6925 upper sideband. Let's check it out. 6925 pirate station upper sideband. 6925. Not hearing anything here, but an ID pirate on 6925 right now. Okay. US Park Talk or US Park Talk bought the PL330 based on a recommendation. Surprised by the high quality. Still, compared to 20 years ago, shortwave is deader than a doornail. You hear a lot more than what you think. You have a lot of signals still on shortwave. It is just very different. Yes, indeed, there are less stations, but you will have more station than you think. I bet you that a lot of the reasons why there's a lot of stuff you don't hear is because you have too much noise around you. Remember that stations are not necessarily broadcasting towards your area, but go to a park, go somewhere where there's not a lot of noise, do an ETM scan on it, and you're going to be surprised at the amount of signals that it gets. That's pretty surprising, actually. Jay Westfall, nice to have you here. What else do we have? Joe Spring from Milton, Florida. Nice to have you on board. We have Ricardo. Nice to have you here from Portugal. Danny, nice to have you here. KD2PTE. Nice to have you on board. Ricardo, remember having to choose between listening to the radio or playing on his ZX Spectrum? Yeah, it happens sometimes. John Beckham, much of it is the noise indeed for non-reception of shortwave. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Once you remove it, even one of the biggest problems in North America, and there's a few other places around the world that are also plagued with this. Australia, for example, where not a lot of broadcasters are actually sending any programs to your area. So we end up with, not that there's nothing to listen to, we end up in a zone where the signals are weaker, because you'll hear Voice of America, you'll hear the BBC on shortwave. But in order for that to happen, you have to have quiet conditions because, when I go to the park, I mean, I'm happy. I listen to Radio France in French. I listen to, BBC is easy to get. Voice of America is easy to get. All of these stations are coming in great. Vatican Radio, with their news service is easy to get. It's really a noise issue that is plaguing our problems. Go back into the 80s. I was thinking about something the other day. Do you guys remember when the BBC was on 15070 all day long? And we would get that here in at least the east coast of North America. That frequency was there all day. I would hear the BBC like, I wanted to listen to the BBC at any time of day, 15070. And then at nighttime, they'd had their, 5975 frequency for North America. But I was thinking about that the other day. That signal was good because we had no noise back then. But 15070 today, with the noise level we have, would have been probably a difficult one for many of us when it was super easy back then, because that was not directed to North America. And I was thinking about that frequency particularly, and I'm like, yeah, that's a great example of how noise is killing the hobby. Because that one back in the 80s, if we had a lot of noise, you would not have heard it, because it was good enough to listen to, but it was not a top-notch signal. It's just that the noise was so low, it was easy to get. And there's a lot of the signals today that's it. I took a bike ride once, and I still remember. I took the cheapest portable that I've got, one of the cheapest, the DGen DE321, or I don't know, it's kind of a mix of a little black radio mix of a DSP analog. It's a little needle with analog. And, I took that radio because I thought, if something happens, if I fall, if I break it, I don't care. It's a cheap radio and I won't miss it. But I did bring it along because I thought, yeah, I'll take when I do my bike ride, I'll take a break somewhere. And I remember I did a really, really big bike ride that day. It was like almost 90 kilometers of biking. I was really tired that day. I still remember. I stopped. I was up in Laval. I went to Laval up north, just north of Montreal. And I stopped at a place where there was, something to eat. And so I took, I remember I took pizza. And I went in there was a park there. I went to the park with my pizza, my Coca-Cola, sat down on a bench, took the radio out, and I was expecting, with that radio to hear pretty much nothing or just the really strongest signals of all. I was tuning in and there was no noise at that park. I was tuning in, and that's where I learned, well, that radio isn't that bad actually. I got Radio France really well. Then I continued. I heard Voice of America. I heard the BBC. I heard tons of signals that was like, darn, I'm hearing tons of things here, you know? And of course, one of the biggest problems with that is that, when I do like the expeditions to like Perry Island or whatever, which I call the urban expeditions because there are expeditions in Montreal, basically, in the city. And that's where I want also to talk about a little bit of, we're here in Northern Hemisphere, particularly, we're getting into spring and summer. And one of the things I want to really, really make sure that everybody tries, get yourself a portable radio and go somewhere where it's quiet. Take the time to enjoy the beautiful weather and bring a radio with you. Go to the park, go hiking, whatever. But particularly one of the things that I like, and that's why I always say urban expedition. We always hear the expeditions and the farthest regions of like those guys in Finland that go to Lapland, where it's like, The only thing that you'll probably meet in hundreds and hundreds of kilometers is, wild animals and trees. um, I want to make sure that, because that gives us an impression of, yeah, that's cool. It's definitely is cool to go to a place like that and do that. But my channel being, let's do something down to earth that everybody can enjoy and have fun with. The first thing that I think every time I see that is, no, you don't have to go 100 kilometers away to enjoy low noise and good radio. I've had a few people comment saying, well, you can't have low noise in a park where the houses are just 100 feet away. I'm sorry, you're wrong. You're really wrong. You have no idea how interference drops really fast when you actually go away from the homes, from the businesses, and just choose a park that is quiet. Not all the parks are quiet. An example here, I've got easy access to 4 parks in less than 15 minutes walk. Okay. Let's put it at 15 minutes. 4 parks. 2 of them are actually pretty good. 2 of them are actually noisy. And it all has to do with the configuration, the lighting in the park, the way to what you have in that park. The 2 that are noisy, one is okay, a pretty small park. And there's a lot of businesses around with like neon signs and stuff like that. I understand why that one is noisy because, it's probably already noisier environment in general. So it's more difficult. And you can't really get away very far from any of the houses or the businesses. But the other one that's very noisy, or quite noisy, if I go there, it's noisy, but there's a lot of lighting system. There's a pool. There's a school. There's a library. There's a city building. So even if you go in the middle of the park, you're not technically most of the time very far from something. So it's better than in my home, but it's noisier than the other parks that I go to. The 2 other parks that I go to, the one here particularly that is just the next corner street, that park has, it has one small building for where the pool is, where there's a small children pool. And it's mostly used in the wintertime for, when people go skating, playing hockey, you can go and change. But in the summer, it's like not really open, or if it is, it's just for, going to the bathroom, stuff like that. So there's really kind of nothing in that park except 2 big baseball fields, 1 tennis field, or tennis court, and that's it. And then there's the big lightings, big lights that light up. That park is extremely quiet. That's the one that I go to for my walk in the park videos. That's pretty much always there that I go to. That's the park you see in my videos, which is Parc Beaubien. And that park is super quiet. When I go there, I don't know, 100 feet, I'll be 50, 75 feet away from houses, 100 feet, which is technically for a lot of people, it's like, well, that's not far enough. And it is. It is because I don't hear a lot of noise there. And I hear everything there. You start scanning the bands and you're like, dang, it's crazy, crazy, you know? So, do go out and find a local park, local area. I know one of the things that I hear a lot of people kind of telling me, well, I feel weird because people are looking at me and they have, I have the impression of like, who cares? Stop thinking about whatever people think of your hobby and what you're doing. I don't know how many times I sit in the park with radios and it's like I see people pass by and like, what is that guy doing? That looks weird. You know, who cares? Who cares? In general, it's much actually the other way. People are curious. And instead of feeling kind of weird or odd doing it, you should just embrace that you're doing it because you're doing what you love and having fun with it. And most of the time, people are just more of in a curious mode of, oh, I wonder what he's doing. You know, I wonder what that is. And people are shy, so people don't, usually don't come over and ask you anything. I still remember at Perry Island, there's this two guys and two girls that get in Perry Island. I remember that day was one of those weather days where there was almost nobody there. And so there's these two guys, two girls that go to the park, and I see one of the girls. She walks towards me, and she's like, "I have a question." I said, "Yeah," because she's seeing my radios and the waters and the trees. What are you doing? And I tell her, it's like I'm listening to shortwave and all of that. But not only that, is as she arrived, I was listening to a ham radio operator in Switzerland, and as she's, she's here, she says, I say, well, for example, what you're hearing here is an amateur radio operator in Switzerland that I'm getting with this radio and the wire here. And she's like all amazed of how, cool it is. Some people do want, are curious and like to want to know, but for the most part, people are just shy. And, you might think, oh, well, I look weird. Embrace weird, and just do what you want to do. I don't stop myself doing radio because there's people in the park that just look at me like, what the hell is he doing? It's it doesn't matter. Do what you love, and find yourself a park, and find yourself a park near where you live. And you know what? In the summer days, it'll take a nice walk, which is nice for your health. And you'll go to the park, bring your radio, do some listening, be happy because you're going to hear tons of things you don't hear usually. And then go back home and be like me, miserable because at home you don't hear half of it. But you don't have to go far to enjoy some really, really good reception on the bands for shortwave. Robert Cross, nice to have you on board. Nice to have you here. What else? Let's go down here. Just try to follow a little more. Moon Vision, bit of info when I use SDR Play RSP1A connected to MLA30 Plus, and a Moonraker Sky Scan mobile antenna mag mount on a middle biscuit tin. Great setup. Cool. Mike WX50, nice to have you here from Northwest Arkansas. Chris66, nice to have you on board from a beautiful Kentucky. Dwayne, nice to have you on board from Tennessee. We have Toast and Loaf. You have to be away from power lines for good VLF reception. Be able to null out and filter it out. Yeah. Man, Max, speaking of C64, Amiga, ZX Spectrum, I'm also watching a demo scene live stream. Cool. I go on even on my gaming machine, what I do is I go on a website called Pouet, Pouet.net, that has demos you can download and play on your PCs or multiple devices. They even have some for Commodore or for pretty much every platform. I like to watch that. I like to watch the art also with the programming. John Meckham, speaking of excessive noise over the shortwave bands, I have found that the Prunus and the Reticus brands, by their nature, normally have noisy receivers already, generally speaking. When I had the Reticus V11, the Tivdio V115, which is also the Reticus V115, and so on, The circuitry for the display is extremely noisy. And when you touch the radio, you feel it. And radios have circuitry that do things that can induce noise. An example: if you put your hand over, and it's not just cheap radios. If you have a St. G and ATS 909X2 and you use it on telescopic, put your hand over the display, and you'll notice that on some of the frequency ranges, you can hear just a slight noise being induced by the digital circuitry of the radio, and lots of radios have that actually. My WX50, I was looking in regards to noise when I started listening to shortwave in the 70s, since we lived in the country away from noise sources. And even here, I mean, in 1982 to, that's what I miss. I mean, when I look at um my shortwave hobby, started in 1982, where I lived then at my parents. You guys saw the pictures of me, young guy. But when I started 82, I'm 13 years old. I left there with my mom in 1991, I believe. The other place we moved was also quiet. When unless you have been exposed to noise and know what a noisy environment is, you don't think about noise. It's not something that comes to mind. So I was from 1982 to 1991 at that place. The only noise source at that place was my downstairs neighbor had a 26-inch Sony TV. When they would turn it on, it would buzz. And one of the particular frequency where I was mad that it buzzed was 17795. And for those that might remember what that frequency is in the summer evenings, it's Radio Australia. It was one of the good frequencies in the evening. And I would listen to Radio Australia quite a lot. And I remember when they would turn on the TV, the buzz would just remove Radio Australia listening. And imagine, when we talk about the noise floor and the noise level and how it affects us today, imagine that buzz maybe reached an S3 or 4 on the S meter. It ain't that high compared to, today. A lot of the frequencies I go to, I've got like S9 and if not more. But it's, once again, what I was explaining earlier. We were receiving signals that weren't that strong, but the noise was so low, we could perfectly hear a program over it. We could perfectly listen to it. So 17795 might be S7, S8. It's an average signal. It's not that strong. It's just okay. It might have been lower than that. But without noise, you could follow a program. You could listen to the music they're broadcasting and all of that. But that TV washed it out, and boy, was I mad every time. Luckily, they would work, so they were working early. So luckily, one of the things that I was accepting, and because there's nothing you can do. What are you going to do? Go downstairs? Like, can you close your TV and listening to Radio Australia? Yeah, right. And it wasn't affecting everything. I mean, I could still listen to a lot of the broadcasts without being affected. I would go back and it's okay. Let's see what's on HCJB or whatever. But the they would turn off the TV around 11 p.m. So what I would do, I'd listen to other things on shortwave. And at around 11:30 p.m., I'd hear, because I could hear when they shut down the TV, it would make a particular noise in my radio before it shut down. And I was like, oh, cool. They just shut down the TV. And then I would go back to Radio Australia or stuff like that. But I mean, that noise was nothing. I would accept that noise today if it was the only noise that I have to deal with over the white noise hash that we've got everywhere today. When we moved, uh, when we moved to the other place, it was very, very quiet. It's funny because all around was old ladies and old couples, and you know, I'm and when I say that because in 1991, I am 30. I'm not even. I'm 20. 20 some years old, 21, 22, 23 years old. So, of course, a 50-year-old couple looks old at 20 years old. So when I say old, it's like they probably weren't that old necessarily, They were my age that I am now. And so I'm an old fart. um Compared to, when when I have that age. Um but what I mean by that is apart from some of us that are, because I mean, I when I did my tech guy duties, I had an 80-year-old lady that made websites, it's like she was the exception to the rule. But in general, a lot of them were using their old technology and their old TVs and their old stuff that was not really noisy in general. No one had computers pretty much in that area and around me. I was the only one with a PC, I think. I couldn't see anybody else near me that had a computer. And I still remember I had a PC. I had a 286, I think, at the time. And the noise was zero. I could listen. I remember CIDX, Canadian International DX Club, on the Messenger. On the Messenger, there was in the logbook section back then. They would kind of highlight, a top log of the month. Well, that guy got that station and is conditions. It's pretty exceptional. And I remember I got a few of those back then, and I was in the middle of the city still. And I remember a particular phrase that comes back to mind every time I think about it is, well, this month we have, Gilles with his log of that station in Africa on that frequency in a noisy environment. uh I I can tell you that was not noisy at all compared to what we have today. Um so we stayed there, and I mean, the real DX, that was the last time that I had real DX from home with, I don't know, I think I had 50 feet of water in the backyard. And I would tune my Kenwood R5000 and just be happy. And I would hear everything, and it was just great. It all changed when I moved here. When I moved here, it was the first time that I was confronted with noise. I now knew what noise was all about because I turned on my Kenwood R5000 in the first week, and I was like, "Oh God, my hobby's dead." I still remember. I thought my hobby's dead. This is crazy noisy now. And I don't know what makes it so noisy. I'm not that far from businesses, I gotta say, but something around here is creating a noise that I never had before. And so it was a hard time, and especially when you come from an environment where there's not a lot of noise, and you move to a place where it's crazy noisy, and you just have almost nothing on your radio. Um, it's sad. You are very, very sad at that point, because when that is one of your main hobbies, I remember it's like, oh man. What am I going to listen to? And still, I could pull it out. I put wires out, and I was still hearing stuff, depending on the frequencies and so on. But the days of low noise was over, and I had to deal with it. And of course, over time, and I think it's everybody for everybody, every one of us, over time, the noise levels have started rising constantly. And this is not over, by the way, guys. I'm sorry to say that it's hurting our hobby terribly. I'll say it again and again and again. Anybody that tells me the internet kills shortwave, you don't know what you're talking about at all. It's not. If it was, stations that left would have, HCJB would have said, we're now online with all our programs, and we'd be listening to the DX Party Line internet show, internet podcast. Same with Radio Netherlands. They would have said, we're all digital now, we're online, no more shortwave. And we'd be listening to Radio Netherlands online. No, these stations decided that, well, let's refocus our audience, which refocus our programming to whatever audience. And so, HCJB has only one frequency left on 60050 from Quito, Ecuador. It's for the vicinity over there. It's for the population of, the area of Ecuador and the countries around it. And they, of course, they've done that reach beyond Australia station for targeting Asia and so on. A little bit of broadcast through some relays in Europe, but pretty quiet now. Radio Netherlands, goodbye. It was nice meeting you, but goodbye. So the internet, I'm sorry, has nothing to do with the death of shortwave. The noise and a lot of other things. Shortwave was already dying, and I've said it so many times. Shortwave was already dying in the 80s and 90s. The Cold War was the big hit of shortwave. Countries now wondering, why are we here after all of this is gone? We are now in a moment where we there's no more Cold War. Why should we be here on shortwave? It's over. We don't need that anymore. And of course, today when we see Ukraine and Russia, what a big mistake that is. But noise is killing our hobby. I heard somebody once, because I told someone, actually here on the live shows, I said once a phrase that a couple of guys came back and said, never heard that. My phrase was, I can bet you that the noise level made a lot of people leave the hobby. And I had a couple of comments of people saying, well, I've never heard somebody complain that they left shortwave listening or their amateur radio hobby because there was too much noise. And I remember replying back to one and saying, because they're not there anymore. They're not gonna go out and say, well, I'm done, it's too noisy. It's the kind of thing that you live through, and you end up saying, well, you know what, I think I'm gonna turn off the radio. Thanks to loops like the MLA30 and whatever you're using, a Wellbrook or a W6LVP, a U loop, an MLA30, or a homemade loop of some kind. Thanks to these antennas, because before I got my first loop here, which was the W6LVP, I started having hesitations, in 2000, and I don't know, the W6LVP I purchased 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years. Time flies really fast. I honestly was starting to think, you know what? I'm starting to be fed up of the noise and just, not there anymore. And I'm the guy that does this live show that promotes shortwave, and you're not there also anymore because it's just too noisy where you live. It starts to get tough because it's like, yeah, I'm promoting something that I don't feel like doing anymore. It's just too noisy around me. And thanks to the loops, magnetic loops, darn, I got enough shortwave back, even though it's still very noisy. I've got enough shortwave back to enjoy it again. And dang, I'm happy for that because boy, was it getting complicated to really, you know, be there. Okay, enough talking. Charlie McKee V2XTC says, thinking back, don't remember the IBM PC Junior causing noise on my Sony 2001, 2010, and mid 90s. I'll have to check my audio tapes. I had a 286 and then a 486. And I mean, the computers back then were built like tanks in like really thick metal boxes. I remember my PCs back then not making noise. Where I lived, when I left my parents' home, I had the 286, then the 486. I and then a Pentium 166. I remember before I moved here, I also had a Pentium 166. All three of them were very quiet. Um, then I moved here. I purchased a HP Pavilion, which was a what was it? It was an Intel Pentium 3 600 megahertz. The first PC I ever had with a CD writer, which was the brand new back then. It was an X2 speed. That also was pretty quiet until I changed the graphics card because the graphics adapter in that computer was so crappy. I changed it for an ATI, or I don't remember, one of the cards that was kind of the budget good gaming card for those I wanted to do so. And I started having all sorts of buzzing and all sorts of weird noises. It was like, okay, seems like that graphics adapter is making noise. Then later on, I had the Pentiums and all of that. I noticed over years that two things were the main drivers of noise from desktop PCs. The power supply. If you had a good quality power supply, that was really, really helping. And the graphics card and cable from the graphics adapter to your monitor, your PC monitor. That was killer noise there. RJD Dakota, trying but not picking up much today. Yeah, here signals are not as good as they usually are. Spain is washed out in the noise on 17.855. Don John, hello there. Nice to have you here. René Charbonnier from Radio Classic Sunday. Nice to have you on board. Papa Delta 3, Romeo Kilo Delta. Nice to have you here from Victor Echo 2, Zulu Zulu India. Robert Osborne. The Coleco Atom was a cool looking computer. My friend had a Coleco Atom computer. My best friend back when I was young, and he didn't have, when I was a teenager, he didn't have any games, any programs. And I remember spending a couple of days at his place, and I said, "You'll have one game." And I looked at there was a basic in that Coleco thing, and I remember writing a clone. It was kind of a clone of Galaga game, and I think it was the only game he ever had on that PC, on that computer. And he says, "Well, it's the one that you programmed." Well, okay, but oh man, Cohort 27. Nice to have you here. Mike WX50, Lapland, where the only noise sources are reindeer. Yeah, pretty much. Francis Moore, following your description of solar activity the other week, got some used books via World of Books. Unbelievable what happens on a star and how it affects us. So it's pretty amazing. And the interaction with our of our magnetic field with the sun is amazing, amazing. And learning about it with the fact that there's radio propagation involved is kind of cool. I find it fascinating, Francis, that you kind of got hooked to all of that with one discussion that we had about it, and it definitely is something fascinating. The sun is a fascinating thing, honestly. Just thinking about it, and it's a big nuclear bomb, self-controlled and self-contained. Pretty crazy. Um, and even the solar flares, we don't think about it, but some of the solar flares from the sun are like 1 million atomic bombs of the most powerful bombs that we've ever exploded in equivalence of power. And you're like, wow, even our atomic bombs are wimpy little things compared to what the sun does. Zenfaros, forgot you will not get really LF at all if your antenna is going through the multicoupler. I have had only success. Oh yeah, I forgot the multicoupler is 500 kilohertz, right? I think the multicoupler stops at 500 in the description. I hear non-directional beacons. I hear the 518 kilohertz Navtex, but you're right. I have to hook up directly to an antenna for that. Definitely. What about deer in the rain? Ah, man. Oh, Jim's radio check. Nice to have you here. Dan, nice to have you here from Ohio. N8WJZ. Our JD Dakota used to always pick up BBC on 15070. Couldn't forget it. Also heard in 9580 in the afternoon and 5980 in the night. 9580 in the morning was Radio Australia. Yeah, 15070. And it was that odd frequency too, because back then there weren't a lot of stations that were off frequency. Talking of off frequency, it's interesting because and by the way, I'm half an hour behind in the chat because I'm talking too much. But one of the things that was interesting is ask WWCR. If you miss that, try to listen to it tonight, 4840 kilohertz at 03 UTC. Because they repeat it. So tonight's going to be the same one as last week, probably. They talk about how their frequencies are outside of the international broadcast bands. It's the first time I heard a broadcaster mention that. They were talking about 15825, and they were mentioning of how that frequency is outside of the international allocations for international broadcasts. It was interesting because they were talking of 6115 and that RTTY that's been bothering them for a while. And they're thinking of moving 6115 to another frequency. Joe Spring walking around the subdivision with a radio and antenna sticking out. Some neighbors think, okay, that guy's crazy. Keegan DXer, my dad, W9JEF's 2017 Chevrolet Volt, has a 2-meter ham whip on the top of the car. I used it for FM and shortwave reception. Cool. WS7IO, Bruce, sometimes you can take some time to explain the hobby to people you see in public. And they're usually pretty curious and have their own radio stories. It might surprise you. In general, people, because there's also that feeling, we got to be careful with the inner feeling we have. It's like, well, people are looking at me like weird. No, people are, sometimes, a lot of them are kind of just intrigued. What are you doing? But people are shy. Most people will not go up to you and it's like, what are you doing? So we got to be careful with the feel we have of some other people watching us, because often what we think and what's the reality of what these people think is different. It's not the same thing. Jazz Dank, nice to have you on board from Louisville, Kentucky. WSMI Homebrew operated my portable ham radios from mountaintops and had many conversations with hikers that passed by. The funniest part is last year when I went to the park to do some videos, the Parc de la Visitation down near the river, and this guy on a bike spots me, stops, and says, "Hey, you're the radio guy that does the YouTube channel stuff." That was kind of funny. It's like you feel like a star. It's like, wow, people are stopping by now and they know who I am. Keegan had a adapter that was homemade for the radio. That's cool. Joe Spring, embrace weird. Yes, we've got to. I think we can embrace we can say we embraced weird for a long time. Anyways. Oh man. Okay, let's try to catch up in the chat now. Ricardo S. Embrace weird now. Now that's a great one. My WX50 in my college speech class, I gave a speech on shortwave radio. It was the best score I've received in that class. I guess it helps to know your subject. Eh? Same here. You know, I for you guys that missed it, in high school, my last year of high school, in French class, we had to talk about a subject that we love. So what I do, I talk about shortwave. That was my passion. So I'm what, 16 years old then? And everybody would talk about something that they love, but they all talked about it for 10 minutes because that was a requirement, at least 10 minutes. So everybody did like 10 minutes, you know. So they were like going through people and all the time. It was like, wow, this is going fast. When it was my turn, I started. Classes back then were 1 hour and 15 minutes in high school here. So I was the first and the only one on that class. I talked for an hour. The teacher just said, first of all, I want to tell you, I gave you a score of 95%. And second is this was great. I had my realistic DX302 that we tuned to Radio Moscow French service. I had QSL cards and envelopes with letters from all different countries around the world, and they was circulating through class. People were actually looking at all of that, amazed. And you know, I had done it also well because I had like this is Radio Moscow in Russia. You know, it's like all this stuff that was like, this is, you know, I'm getting letters from Russia. When we did our 25th anniversary reunion in 2011, we did our 25th anniversary reunion. One guy came up to me and he said, "So, you still listening to that shortwave stuff?" And I was like, "You remember that?" He says, "Hell yeah." I will never forget that presentation you did about shortwave radio when in high school. It was just so cool. And I remember having all the envelopes and all the stuff that you gave us. It's like, wow, this is so cool. Chest Tank. How about women wearing bikini carrying a radio and a cat just on the park? Oh yeah, that one was fun, Chest Tank. That was just so unique. Only it's like I still remember. It's like I'm at the park. For those that don't know the story, you know, there's all sorts of stuff happening. I'm at Perry Island, and you know, I'm used to it. There's boats and stuff like that from time to time. But now there's a woman on a board. So it's a woman in a bikini on a board. She has a radio and a cat, and she's paddling along, just going through the river. And I'm like, okay, that would have been nice. It's like, Carl Icon, yep, 9940 was her freedom, aka WWTW, 9940 playing music. TFP Taloa Fishing, nice to have you here from Mississippi, K5ASL. Ricardo, if one is not cool with being weirded with tech stuff, then it is not doing nothing on the radio hobby. Yep, embrace the weirdness. Paranoia strikes deep. Yep, that is true though. Absolutely. That's all right, RJD Dakota. Go to the woods or whatever, Barry, my Grenic G3 has added noise only when I use the built-in light. Other than that, it's fairly quiet. Ricardo, remember the days, and I will be only 50 this year, but there were times when going out with a pair of headphones in your head was enough to startle the odd look on other people's. Yep. Robert Cross picking up 7325. Dave Conti on the PL 880. If you touch the speaker, the noise level goes up, which sometimes actually also makes the signal stronger. Yeah, a lot of portables when you pick them up, though. There's kind of a an effect there where it enhances. Joe Spring, my neighbors are used to me being weird. Moon Vision, radio related. Have you ever played with a theremin? Nope. That doesn't ring a bell. Man Max, oh yeah, good old Quet. They have quite a few demos from many different platforms currently watching Revision 2022 demo party. Gabriel, on some of the videos I posted on Facebook group, you'll notice that I put my hand behind the PL368. That sometimes improves the signals. On many, like we were saying, on many portables, holding them in your hand rather than just leaving them on the table. Notice my videos. Have you noticed that when I go to a park with the portables, pretty much all the portables, I'm holding them in my hand when I'm actually playing with them? I rarely have them just on the table. If I do, it's because I'm using a long wire or a wire antenna. But if I'm using the telescopic, you'll notice that most of the times I've got the radio in my hand. Charlie McKee says, for those complaining of no shortwave signals, perhaps a manual slow scan, not an auto scan. That's for sure. And different times of day, different frequency ranges. Try it all. So yeah, 21, 22, getting into 22 and 91. And that picture. Keegan DXer, you was -5 in 1991. What were you doing? I was swimming around. Tom DXer, when I started shortwave listening, the only noise I heard was from fluorescent lights or electric power tool. Thundercat 1 has a ham now. Noise is one of my biggest enemies in the hobby. Cheap wall warts, I believe they are switching types, seem to be some of the worst. Yeah. The switching power supplies, and a lot of, you know, we have technology that doesn't follow the standards that used to be followed. To save money, a lot of the technology today has some really Voice of Turkey in English, by the way. 9830 kilohertz, Voice of Turkey in English. A little noisy here, but it's coming in. 9830 in English, Voice of Turkey. But yeah, and the devices we have, the There are still today some technology that is very well built to reduce noise. And usually it's because you paid a high price for it. Because a lot of the stuff today, I mean, come on, they're not following rules, and there's no more, FCC approved, and people buy stuff online. I mean, look at Amazon and eBay. We're getting stuff from China that has zero check. It has never been approved by the FCC. It has never been checked for noise. We're getting stuff from everywhere. The rules of how devices behave and should not be noisier than a certain level have all been taken down, because we now get stuff from everywhere that just, yeah, I put these three parts together and here we go. That works. Yeah, but you forgot also the other parts that make it less noisy. But you didn't put them in because if you put them in, it makes the price higher. You don't want to have that. So, we're stuck with that, and that is a big problem. It is. Noise is the number one problem of our hobby, not the internet, anything else. Noise is the number one problem of our hobby. Um, Keegan, the only noise I remember on shortwave was 60 hertz hum and occasional power line interference before the later switching adapters. Yep. VT radio just worked Paraguay. 12 meters FT8. Cool. 85 DXCC on 12. That's amazing. Cool, Paul. Ricardo, today's every power supply that is not a heavy lump of copper, the ones that are very light, biggest RF enemies. Yep, switching power supplies. Switching power supplies are amazing because they brought, they make things light, they make things small, but unless they're really well done, well built, they are crazy noisy. Just think, in 1991, I was at KKMC on the world's largest beach. No water view, but plenty of sand. Keegan, DXer. My dad, W9JEF, turns 83 in April. Wow. Time flies. You gotta really embrace it and do the best you can as you get older. Barry, in 1991, I was 24, telling my age. VA3 JPX, I get 20 plus noise on HF, VHF most of the day. It started about 8 months ago. Now it's almost constant from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Friday. A little less on weekends. Crazy, eh? It's crazy because it makes us sad in our hobby. It really makes us sad because we have a hard time, doing what we like because of all of that. Oh, man. Dwayne was 29 in 1991. Joe Spring, remember when Hurricane Yvonne hit? All the power went out for weeks. Reception was incredible. Oh, yeah. We're all we're all the only guys that actually are happy when power outages happen. It's like, woohoo, no power. I hope it stays all night. Like tonight, if there were to be a power outage, it was like, cool. Now it's time to DX. And of course, everything that I have here is, I can power it with batteries. It works. It's just great. The only problem that I have with a power outage, I have to use, the SDR will work as long as my laptop has power, but I'll have to rely on good old, portable receivers, which is fine. They work great. VA3 JPX, I haven't used HF in 6 weeks because of the noise. That is sad. That is sad. Bobby, I got to be your youngest shortwave listener here. I think there's a few people around here that compete. Barry says, where I live is a DX hotspot. I can pretty much get all the NOAA weather radio stations in Kentucky. Sometimes they overlap. Cool. Chris, nice to have you here from Tulsa. RJDA Dakota. Have grand memories of Radio Australia. Many times listening, not just in the morning, but in the evening, 21740. That was the first frequency I've heard them on my DX100. Also heard it on the very bizarre 19,000 kilohertz. Yep. And they were using that. I don't believe any stations are using that band right now. Let me just check it out here. I check the frequency range. So that is the 15. What is it? The 6, 7. What's the meter band of that frequency range? So there's an international broadcast band that is like the 16 meter band or 15 meter band, or I don't know. It's like, 12 meter. I don't know. No, it's not 12. It's between the 16 and the 13. So it's, I don't know. It's weird. Which is 18. What is it? 18 9, something like 18,900 to 19 something. Yeah, there's only Sound of Hope using it. And of course, a CNR1 jammer. There's no broadcasters using that range. That one is. There were a few stations that I heard. I remember, so Radio Australia used 19,000. I remember a few other stations using it, but that band has been pretty much empty now. Pretty much. So, just checking out Pirates. Chill 9500 upper sideband. That one has been on almost every week, if not every day. 9500 upper sideband. Let's go here and check it out. Yep. Hearing it with some music. 9500 upper sideband. Chill, CHIL. 9500 upper sideband pirate. If you guys want to try it, is on the air. Joel Bundy, nice to have you here from Virginia Beach. Chris, love my 40-meter loop for its low noise. When I switch to my vertical, it's almost white noise. Yeah, loops are amazing for that, at least. Ricardo, simply put, shortwave is increasingly incompatible with modern civilization due to RF noise. But when we contemplate the new ongoing war, shortwave still is a reserve technology. Yep. Moon Vision in Northern England. Always enjoy receiving shortwave broadcasts from the transmitter site in Botswana, like Voice of America and stuff. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Bobby, what about web SDRs? What's exactly the question? Yeah, PC Junior and all of those PCs back then were tanks. They were like big, heavy metal stuff that you didn't even move them. They were just too heavy. Chastang first computer, TRS-80. Oh man, that was a popular one for a lot of people. My first was a VIC-20, Commodore VIC-20. Chris, my M1 Mac Mini makes no noise thanks to the metal enclosure. Yeah, well, Apple stuff in general. I had a MacBook Pro, a MacBook. I don't recall the screen of the MacBook Pro was creating a little bit of buzz when close to portables, but in general, they were pretty quiet. The power supplies were quite quiet also. Because the biggest problem is not the computer itself necessarily. Sometimes it's the power supply that's with them. And the power supply is generally pretty quiet on Apple computers. David Ostrowski, it's not what it once was. I don't want to invest too much into it when most of what I hear is religious broadcasters. Maybe it's better to DX outside of North America. Actually, um, you got it wrong. It's great to DX in North America if you have no noise. You're hearing only religious broadcasters because your noise level too high. And like I said earlier, do it from a quiet location, a park, go camping, whatever. And you'll notice that it's still a great place of DXing in North America. And you will hear a lot more than just the religious broadcasters from the US. Um, yeah, but we got to be careful because the Chinese Malahite radio, which has that noise reduction, it's great, but it's not a miracle cure. It's great as long as the signal to noise ratio is good, meaning that there's a lot of a signal versus the noise that the radio's getting. Matt Rio DXer, nice to have you here from the UK. Also get a strange looks when I'm DXing in my local park, but I don't care because I know I'm mad anyway. Of course, you're a Mad Radio DXer. You should introduce yourself like that. You know, it's like somebody comes up to you. It's like, what are you doing? Well, first of all, I'm Mad Radio DXer. Darren Rogers, nice to have you here. KB2AHS. N6RLS, nice to have you here. Robin from Berkeley, California. What else do we have? What else do we have? Yeah, the sun is pretty amazing. Francis says, cheers for getting me hooked. Well, that's cool. You know what? And I like that also for another reason. I like people that I'm like that. You will introduce me to something and I'll be fascinated and want to learn more. And that is great. That's what people should be. You know, one of the biggest problems today in our society with misunderstanding is people aren't interested in anything. So we have knowledgeable people that know a lot that do good stuff, and a lot of ignorant people that, unfortunately, because they are just ignorant, they're not stupid, they're ignorant. They have a lack of knowledge of so many things that they just can't put things straight. And we need people that have knowledge. David in Barcelona, nice to have you here. EA3IEK, EA4998 URE. Nice to have you on board. Michael, nice to have you on board from Northern New Jersey, USA. that's pretty much it, Kamikaze 76. Even if you detonate every nuclear weapon on Earth on the sun, it would be like, yeah, you know, he says, just hold my beer. I was like, yeah, look what I got for you. Rifleman 336, nice to have you here. N8UCN Alex in Southwest Ohio. What we're lucky with Ms. Toastin Loaf, and a couple of you guys said that the sun could really wallop us. The sun, what is nice, and it shows the with the age of the Earth, which it's like roughly 4.5 billion years. What is interesting to see is that it shows us that our sun is rather stable as a star. What we're lucky for, because we wouldn't be here. There are other stars that we see that we detect some activity. You know what we call solar activity with 11-year cycle here in the sun. We detect solar activity or star activity on other stars. We know that there are solar cycles on other stars too. We detect them from the distance. And some have weird cycles of 3 years, others have cycles of 25 years. But what we see a lot, and this is where the sun is really, really nice, is that even though the sun can destroy our technology, if it really wants to, and it's capable of, and it might do it one day. The thing is that our sun never has um, extreme explosions that are enough to kill us. Yes, they'll bring us back to the 1850s in technology because our technology will zap. But we're protected by the magnetic field of the Earth and all of that together, and even the strongest flares of the sun um, have are not strong enough to kill us. But so many stars around us, when we look at their cycles and their solar flares, some of them have solar flares that are so crazy that they would just rip off the atmosphere of the Earth if we would be next to one of those stars. So our sun is rather stable for a star. So we got to be happy with that because it's roughly stable, even though it does have these ups and downs in activity. So at least Um, what else do we have? Let's just go down. Let's just go down. Just go down. John Beckham, if you had one radio related wish, what would it be? Mine would be for Radio Shack to come back. Um, I'll put it in a different way. If I had a radio related wish to be able to go back in time in different moments to witness with today's radios that I've got and SDRs what the bands were like back then. DXer, I'd have to ask her out on the spot if I saw that. Oh man, that's probably related to that woman in a bikini on a board with a radio and a cat. Hi, my name is Joe. I have radios. I have a cat, and all I miss is a board. Oh man. Rare TD Dakota. Yeah, Amazonia is back on 11780. That's good. Pirate's still on there on 9500. Let's go check out 11780 here. Yeah, that one is really strong. Look at that strong signal from Brazil. 11780 kilohertz. Brazil, Radio Nacional Amazonas. What else do we have? Let's check it out. No more rules. Absolutely, Joe Spring. Rules are gone. Dwayne has 9830, Voice of Turkey in Tennessee with good copy. Jim's radio check. Smoke 20,000 cigarettes and get a free radio. Popeye cigarettes? John Beckham, they used to call the noise on CB 11 meters ground noise. Oh, man. Two broke Tim, when I started on shortwave, it was so long ago, radios ran on steam. I like that. So what did you do to do radio like at Gilligan's Island? Oh, I was just, doing my exercise on my bike with the dynamo. Radios that run on steam. I'd like to see that. A radio running on steam. This is my steam-powered Grundig. Oh, man. Chris Powell, my neighbors always come over when I'm throwing a dipole up in the tree to ask me what I'm doing. Say putting up an antenna, and they say, "Oh, okay," and walk away scratching their heads. We got to be careful sometimes. We think that people don't see us, but I still remember when I put 100 feet of wire in my backyard. I did it at night so nobody could notice. About 2 weeks later, I'm talking to the lady that's on the house on the other side and with the fence. She says, "What's that wire for?" It's like, wow, you notice there's a wire? I mean, sure that it's so small that nobody notices anything. I barely see it because I know where it is. And it's like, what's that wire up in the air? It's like, okay, some people notice everything. RJ Dakota, power outage is fun until you have to recharge the battery in your set if it's one of that takes a rechargeable. Philip, what's your opinion of the H501X? An amazing radio. They call it 15 meters, 18900 to 19100. Okay. Like the 15-meter amateur band. Oh, man. Really no stations today on that band. S. Fred, fine here in Toronto. Joe Spring, 9500 USB coming in strong here in Milton, Florida. VT Radio Paul, S9 plus 10 on 9500 Upper Sideman in Vermont. Tony, greetings to everyone here from the south coast of Ireland. Jill, will you be reviewing the new Ronda HRD 747? I am wanting to do so. The biggest problems I'm having is having one at a decent price because the only time that I saw one available somewhere was like 200 Canadian dollars. I'm not gonna pay that for that. So I am checking regularly and hoping that at some point I can find one decently priced and purchase it. But I would like to try one out. I saw I saw a few videos and a few posts about it. I want to try it. I have the 737, which here is the crappiest thing in the world. I'm curious. Maybe the 747 is improved and better. JJ Hendo, nice to have you here. Dustin Love does not hear 9500 in Alabama. Bobby Burgess, when you were talking about the loops, I was thinking about WebSDRs as well. Tristan, I live in a small city with a population of 23,000. A very noisy environment, but the MLE 30 makes shortwave enjoyable. But when I go to my hometown to visit my family, only around 230 living there. Yeah, different. Hey, come here to Montreal with a population of more than 2 million. You're going to be happy with noise. It's Noiseland. Rifleman 336, first computer with Texas Instrument TI 99 4A. Had a voice synthesizer. I know. Oh. Oh, man. Moon Vision, is that ZX Spectrum kid here? Moved on to the BBC Micro and then the Amiga 500. You guys in the UK had it different. You were going in a different, most of it was a different thing. The Amiga 500 was way more popular. I've got one here right now, still working. But the Amiga 500 was way more popular in Europe than it was in North America, for example. And things like the BBC Micro, we didn't have here. The ZX Spectrum, we had, but Commodore was like king in North America for a lot of us. Ed Short, nice to have you here. Ed, K1BXR in Hudson, Florida. Too much line noise here. That is the biggest problem. Tobruk Tim, remember the first Radio Shack computer had a cassette for the hard drive. My VIC-20, I used good old 4-track cassettes in that data set to save my programs. Joe Spring, very good description of the difference between stupidity and ignorance. Yeah, because we got to be careful. A lot of people are intelligent, just ignorant, and that's where we have to educate. That's why going in school helps. It doesn't mean you're not going to be an idiot, because you could be a a bachelor and still be the most idiot in the world. Look at Elon Musk. He's doing great things, but he's so stupid and dumb. That's a great example. But at least he's doing some great things when he wants to. JJ Hendo, if we orbited a pulsar. Yep. Yep. Imagine thinking of being here with our shortwave radios, and it's like, yeah, so how was the reception of Voice of Turkey? Oh, it was tough because I had that 10-second pulse of the pulsar, but at least I could still listen to it. Oh man, it will become more complicated. Toast and Loaf says hasn't done nothing drastic in billions, but the next billions are going to be more complicated as the sun is running out of fuel. It's gonna really be Angel mostly in shortwave listening mode here on the Steam stream tonight. Cool. Ed Short, best portable he's got is a Sony 2010. RJDA Dakota, I read where you can see a solar cycle on stars like Betelgeuse. I've read where we may see it go in my lifetime. You can even see, there was a documentary showing that those trees that are hundreds and hundreds of years old, if not thousands, you can actually even see solar cycles and the way they grow. It's pretty crazy. Uncle Justin, KB2RMC, nice to have you on board. I think we all miss Radio Shack stores ahead. Yep. Wasn't it Beetlejuice that kind of dimmed really, really crazy, and people were thinking, was it really, really close to supernova in the last year or two? That's great speculation. To Rogue Tim, solar flares are secret CIA experiments meant to interfere with watching pro wrestling. Now that sounds logical. Oh man. Coconut batteries. Yep. Take care, Tom DXer. Stay safe, my friend. Always nice to have you on board. Yeah, conditions are not that great tonight here either. RJDA Dakota, or when Gilligan gets bopped and start playing AM radio out loud. Oh yeah, from his tooth filling, something like that. Remember that? Or do you guys remember when they are trying to fix the transceiver to broadcast, and they finally have it functioning, and at the time they're talking to someone in the plane, or I don't know, to get help, and Gilligan trips over the cable or something, and it just stops functioning again. Gilligan's Island. You gotta love that show. That reminds me of a joke we had here. My brother, we were asking like those weird questions once, and we're all the family gathering. So somebody asks, um, as a question, if you're stuck on a desert island, which one of us do you want to be with? So my sister-in-law thinks that my brother is going to choose her. My brother says, oh, I want to be with Joe, my brother. She's like, why? Because Joe's going to do two things. He's going to be able to bring a radio to life so we can listen to music, and he's going to find a way to make alcohol so we get drunk. And it was like, okay. And the third thing, because there were three things, I think. And the third thing was like, and he's not going to panic because you're going to panic. It was just like, okay. That's a funny one. What else do we have? Tony, funny, my next door neighbor noticed that after a few days when I put up my mag loop, he said, "What's that shiny thing you put up in your garden?" It's in my field of vision from my bedroom window. Yeah, people see things pretty much. Um, Tony, I agree. The Aronda is quite expensive. Yeah, it is. I haven't seen a decent price for it yet. So, Tony, I noticed a lot of people are interested in radio, are also interested in astronomy, which is just as well as both are connected. I think you know what I was thinking about that once because we were talking about hobbies and how all of it is interconnected, and I started thinking about that and noticed that maybe it has a lot to do also with simply we're a bunch of people that are super interested, and we're curious. We just want to try different things, and I think if you're interested in radio, you're interested in the technical aspect of it. I think anything technical, even if it's just astronomy or whatever, electronics, we're kind of attracted to all of that because we're just curious guys. I think it has a lot more to do with curiosity than anything else. We're just curious people. That's why we're here, and that's why this is happening. Tony, here in Ireland, I'm hearing Voice of China on 9500, so I cannot hear the pirates. Yeah, it's more of a North American pirate thing. David Dunn, I'm in Ohio. Remember the greatest shortwave listing was around 1961, the highest solar cycle since I could get very remote stations. We got to be careful with our perception of best times versus solar cycles. I see that a lot. And by experience and over time, what I noticed is that it's not necessarily the solar cycles, much more the amount of things that we're just on. We wouldn't complain of a solar cycle because I've never heard of so many complaints of the solar cycle being, you know, small before. And I mean, I never heard of people complaining of being in the solar minimum or things like that in the 80s because solar minimum was there. And what I notice is that I think it has more to do with there's just lack of stuff or strong signals than actually the cycles themselves. I think if we would have the same amount of signals on shortwave from 1970 today, we wouldn't even be talking about solar cycle and the solar cycle minimum or whatever. We'd have so many things to listen to still. That discussion was much more alive in the days when the station started leaving, or if not leaving, broadcasting to other target areas. And I think, and I'll say it again, it's nice. Their solar cycle is higher, getting higher. We see the effect on the higher frequencies, but I will repeat it again. A lot of people will be sad when they realize that the top of the solar cycle is not a miracle and that they're not necessarily getting that much more because even though higher solar activity helps and definitely does bring some activity, especially in the high frequencies, I think people forget that the two things, the noise level and the fact that a lot of stations are not broadcasting towards us, are the real reason why A lot of people are complaining of the solar cycle. Um, Lack of signals, not solar cycle problem. In the 70s or 80s, nobody was complaining of the solar cycles. ET radio. Yep, I had the battery of the Mun Club. I'd get that 9-volt battery all the time. Doesn't love last solar maximum. I was getting shortwave on my stereo amp speaker wires. Yeah, if it's tuned right, the frequency is tuned right. Uh, Definitely. Here, with the biggest problem I had when I was doing my tech duties was as we were getting closer to Montreal. Montreal is an island. There's a mountain in the middle of it, and on top of it, there's pretty much every FM AM station, not AM but FM stations in Montreal are almost all there on the tower on top of that mountain. When I would go fix computers near the mountain, people were wondering why in their computer speakers they would hear music or talk. It's because they were so close to the mountain that the signals were so strong they were getting in whatever because of the length of the wires of the speaker. San Faros, Radio Caros, struggling to get through 9900. Sounds like Egyptian music. Um, Tony, it would be interesting to know people's favorite radio themed movie. Mine is Frequency with Dennis Quaid. And okay. I would say that one that touches me because it has the astronomy side, the science side, and the radio side is for me. It's that movie with Jodie Foster, Contact, which I actually watched last week. Justin, red dwarf stars can increase their output by 3 to 5 times with hours. I don't think that's good for life. Nope. It's good we have a chill star. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Take care, WF7I. Take care, Bert. Stay safe. Moon Vision 9900. 9900 should also be Cairo pretty much in the UK if it's distorted, particularly. But who knows? Propagation sometimes. Propagation. Let me check it out here. Okay. Let's go down here. He painted the loop green so it blended with the background. Oh, God. Okay. Okay. God. Really? Pretty crazy. Let me check it out here. Yeah, where are the aliens? Actually, aliens are looking at us and saying, that planet is so crazy. Don't go there. Tony, also Contact is up there on the list of my favorites. Combines radio and astronomy. Aubrey Young, nice to have you on board. KWK0Y. As Fred says, when I was a kid in Montreal, we pointed a TV antenna at Plattsburgh that provided enough attenuation to receive the Montreal stations. That reminds me of me being a kid and my mom being going crazy because I was trying to put the rabbit ears on the TV so I could get my Saturday morning cartoons off of Channel 5 and Channel 3 out of Plattsburgh and Burlington, Vermont. Plattsburgh, New York, and Burlington, Vermont on the TV. Gabriel, in Uruguay back in the 80s, you can hear radio on some public phones. Barry, nice strong signal from WRMI this evening on the telescopic, 93.95. Tony, nice one, Joe. I mentioned contact earlier. Great minds. Yeah. Yeah, SETI at home was cool. I remember doing that for a while. H Bin's Dodge. Take care, 73, Rani Shabani and Radio Classic Sunday. Stay safe. Pretty cool. I was running SETI at home on my computers too. So, hey guys, we had a lot of fun. I'm a little tired and it's Easter and it's time to take it easy. I have a few things to do, including doing my YouTube version of International Radio Report. So, we're going to be back, of course, as usual. We're here on Wednesday and Saturday. And hope that you enjoyed this show today. We will be back on Wednesday, and that's 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 0 hours Universal Time, Thursday for the rest of the world, and of course, 20 hours UTC on next Saturday. Have a great Easter, Passover, whatever it is that you are celebrating. And stay safe, take care, have fun. And we'll be back with more radio stuff in the coming weeks, months, years, hopefully. So stay safe, everybody. Really appreciate it to have all of you here. Without you guys, there would not be a show like this. So thanks for all of you to be here, and stay safe, guys. 73, and don't forget on Monday it's World Amateur Radio Day. Why not take the time to either listen to ham radio operators, or I think I'm going to be on the bands a little bit on Monday. I'm going to try to do that. So, World Amateur Radio Day, Monday, April 18th, 2022. Take care, everybody. Stay safe, and see you soon. Bye bye. It's always fun to have all of you here on the channel. And bye bye.